Hi everyone, welcome to the next installment of A Year On. And this time we're looking at a game that I think I covered in my first ever bite-sized review, which is Yooka Laylee. Certainly an interesting game to talk about because back when it first came out, my god, what a strange reaction from people. Like, I've never seen a game where people have reacted in so many different ways. Like, normally when a game comes out, there is some general consensus. With Yooka Laylee, reviews for this game were all over the map. I'd never seen a game get reviews that range from like 2 out of 10 to fucking 9 out of 10. It was strange. It was so bizarre. What was even more strange was the way people were reacting to the reviews. Like, on the bad reviews, people were saying, oh, why, this game's great, oh, stop trying to kill the 3D platformer genre or some shit like that, I don't know. And then on good reviews, people were saying, how can you like this? This game is a piece of shit. Well, what are you talking about? It was just nuts. I'd never seen anything like this before. It was bizarre. All over a game as innocent looking as Yooka Laylee. So yes, Yooka Laylee is the kickstarted spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie from Playtonic Games, made up of a group of people who most people will know worked on Banjo-Kazooie in the old days of Rare. Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Tooie, GoldenEye, they went on to make Viva Pinata, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, and they all left and formed Playtonic Games, started a Kickstarter, a very successful Kickstarter, to create Yooka Laylee. We have to address Banjo-Kazooie here first, because this being a spiritual successor, you kind of have to. So I think I mentioned in my original bite-sized review that with Banjo, I said it was okay, not great. That was a bit of a brushed over statement, to be honest. What I should have gone into depth with is that before playing Yooka Laylee for the first time, I had played Banjo on the N64. I'd got to about the 4th world and then I stopped. Not because the game was bad. The game in itself was really good, like the gameplay, the level design, and the collectathon aspect. It was the charm of it as well. It was all really good. But what killed it for me was the N64 controller. It was nothing to do with Banjo-Kazooie as a game, it was the controller of the N64. I fucking hate that piece of shit. It is so bad. Fair enough, people who grew up, I didn't grow up with N64, so I got used to the way PlayStation controllers were. Even then, I've had some people who grew up with the N64 tell me that it's not a good controller. It's such a bizarre design. I don't get how they thought that was a good idea. I get the philosophy was like it was meant to sort of be adaptable for both 2D and 3D, but man, I just don't get along with it. And that controller on its own completely destroyed all enjoyment I had in Banjo, and I only got to the 4th world because of it. But ever since playing Yooka Laylee for the first time, I have since gone back to Banjo because I did come into owning a pre-owned Xbox 360 just down there. A friend of mine didn't need it anymore, he just gave it to me. I'm not going to turn that down, so I took advantage of it, and yeah, okay, that's cool. But yeah, I took advantage of the situation and thought, you know what, I'm gonna buy Banjo-Kazooie the Xbox Live version. Hopefully it's improved, and thank fucking god, it was so much better. Using the Xbox 360 controller is a delight. That controller is very ergonomic anyway, so it's really nice. The controls, it just feels so much better to control and looks so much better. I played it from start to end and 100%ed it. It was that good. I really enjoyed it. Even then, when playing Yooka Laylee for the second time, which as of recording this, I've just beaten it for the second time ever yesterday, playing Banjo-Kazooie all the way through did not change my opinions on Yooka Laylee whatsoever. So yeah, Yooka Laylee, I'm gonna be honest, I'm proud to say that I like Yooka Laylee. I really like it, actually. First time I played it, I really enjoyed it. Now, granted, now I do look back and question, was I maybe caught up in a bit of nostalgia? Even though I didn't play Banjo as a kid, was it just that sense of the 90s platformer collectathon style, that nostalgia coming through? But you know what, going back to Yooka Laylee for the second time, no, it wasn't. It wasn't just nostalgia. It is just my love for the 90s style 3D platformer games, and Yooka Laylee is just another one of those. Granted, it does play on nostalgia a fair bit here and there, but it was still such an enjoyable experience going through it again, and I had a lot of fun with it. Like, from the get-go, as soon as you see the Playtonic logo, you know who this game was made by. You can tell it oozes that essence and that charm that the old Rare devs used to have. There's no mistaking that these are the guys who made it. So yeah, the premise for this game is, again, it's a simple premise that most 3D platformers have. There's this bee called Capital B, and he's running this factory, and he's using this machine to suck books in and turn it into pure profit. And he captures this one book owned by Yooka and Laylee, and it's called the One Book, and it's apparently really powerful. And the pages, yeah, that's what they're called, pages, get scattered across these tome worlds, which are all these different books. And now Yooka and Laylee have to go through the Hivory Towers, which is the main hub world, and travel through each of these tome worlds, gathering the pages, and then finally confronting Capital B. It's simple setup, and it's all it needs really, because the gameplay is the focus here. And with the gameplay of Yooka Laylee, I really enjoy it. Granted, I am someone who loves that 90s style 3D platformer sort of game. Like, I love Crash Bandicoot, I enjoy Banjo. If you've seen a lot of my videos, you may get a sense that platformers are my thing. And Yooka Laylee for me is another one of those, and again, it tries to replicate that charm that the 90s have, and to its credit, I think it does it quite well. I think the main thing I need to address that's really good about this game, and the thing that just, of course, is so important, is the way it controls. Yooka and Laylee control brilliantly. The control has a nice responsiveness, a nice weight, and the way it incorporates all the different moves into the control sets it's really nice, and that's the main thing. It controls well, because if the game doesn't control it in a 3D platformer, in a platforming game, it all goes pear-shaped, and you need to make sure that that's the main thing you get down, and Yooka Laylee nails that perfectly, I think. And of course, so the general gameplay of Yooka Laylee is you go into through these 5 tome worlds, and each of them there is 25 pages to collect, 200 quills, 5 of these ghostwriters, also some special items like a power extender, a health extender, a play coin, a money coin, all this sort of stuff. And the idea is to collect these pages either through completing challenges or platforming challenges, and I'm gonna be honest, I love it. Now, I know there are some people who, or not people, but reviewers who call this concept outdated. Hearing that phrase, I honestly do not get it. How can a style of gameplay be outdated? My thing is, so what? Just because it was a thing that was popular in the 90s and they're doing it now, what makes it outdated? What makes it not viable in the today's gaming industry? It's just another style of gameplay, and I don't get what are you expecting? It's a collectathon. You do platforming challenges, complete challenges to earn collectibles. That's what these kind of games are about. I don't get how these concepts are outdated. It's just a style of gameplay. I don't know. It's blah. Either way, I love this style of gameplay, and I think some of the tweaks Yooka Laylee has done to it is quite nice. Like the way it makes each of the collectibles very relevant, the pages being used to expand the new world. Well, granted, that was a thing in Banjo as well. That's not a new thing, that's normal, but like the quills being used to purchase more moves, I really liked. The fact that the ghostwriters, each one of them needed a certain tactic to capture, I thought was really cool. The way the game encouraged deeper exploration to find the power extender and health extender, I really liked. And yeah, just the general gameplay of exploring these worlds, finding these collectibles, doing challenges, meeting these fun characters. It's just great. It's very chilled, it's very relaxed, it's very non-stressful. And that's what I love about these kind of games, and Yooka Laylee, once again, does it very nicely. Now, there are some aspects of the gameplay that I'm not going to say hate, but when you compare them to the main platforming game and collectathon gameplay, oh god, it pales in comparison. The first thing I need to address is the retro arcade game. So there's the character Retro 64us, and if you find a play coin in each world, you get to play his arcade games. And you got to play them twice in each world. One, playing and completing them just generally earns you a pagey, and then playing them again and beating a high score earns you a second pagey. And basically what they are, they're these mini games, and they're okay. Like, none of them are horrible, I'm gonna say. Not one of them is a absolute dreadful game. Maybe the casino one is a bit The thing is, they just pale in comparison to the main platforming gameplay, and it's very evident that these are made for co-op. These are made to be played with other people, but it's the fact that they shoehorn them into the main game by adding 2 pages to this mini games, and it's I just wish that, or even to make it better, maybe if you beat the high score on your first general playthrough of that mini game, then just give them 2 pages off the bat. I don't know. I think having to tie 2 pages to it is excessive. And just not necessary. I just don't like the fact that it's forced upon you. Like, they're fine. If there were a side thing just to earn you maybe a little bonus in like the hub world or something, brilliant. They would have been absolutely fine. But it's the way they force them onto you in order to 100% the game in the main adventure that I don't like. But they're not horrible. They're not bad. Some of them, they control fine. Some of them are meh. Some of them are just very boring in my opinion. Like, it's that one like where you're collecting feathers on the ice, or the one where you're controlling the little bee thing in the swamp. They're just like, they're a bit meh. But overall, they're not horrible. And again, they do. It's just the way they're implemented into the main game that makes them annoying. And now, one of my biggest gripes, the minecart sections. I wasn't particularly fond of these when I first played through it. I was really hoping that the controls would have been sorted for my second playthrough, because it's been well over a year and a half since I last played it, and I was hoping surely there's been a patch, because this was a big issue. In the original, the controls for the minecart were so sensitive and just so stupid that it made those parts really not fun at all. Now granted, this time around, I don't know, the controls, the thing is, they still felt the same, but I had no struggle whatsoever compared to my last, okay, granted, well, the first 2 worlds I breezed through them fine. The 3rd and the 4th worlds I had to maybe 1 or 2 tries, and the 5th world again I did on my first try. But the thing is, the controls didn't feel any different, and I don't know. So, and again, it didn't make me enjoy them anymore. The fact that I got through them more quicker, but technically it made me enjoy them that I could get them out of the way. But I don't know. I just feel again, they could have been so much fun, those minecart sections, if the control and their design was just a bit more refined. I just feel like I don't know. I just feel it could have had so much more tweaking to it to make it well done, and it's just one part of each world that I do not look forward to and going into it. It's well, what else is there that's in each world? Oh yeah, boss fights. The boss fights are okay. They're not the best platforming boss fights. Granted, Banjo-Kazooie had little to no boss fights except for Gruntilda at the end. Banjo-Tooie had a few. Yooka Laylee's okay. The first 2 are pretty meh, to be honest. Like the ramp one's bit, and the second boss with like the ice thing, that's just stupid. That's a boring ass boss. The 3rd one's okay. The 4th one, I know a lot of people hate because he is very frustrating because it's with the minecart and you're using the minecart controls. That can be a frustrating one. I remember that was the boss I had the most trouble with on my first playthrough. Here, I beat him after about my 3rd try. I don't know if it's because I'm just used to it. Now, even though it's my 2nd playthrough, I don't know if it's just because I'm more used to the controls. I don't know. I just got through it a lot quicker. The 5th boss, I think it's absolutely fine. I think it's a decent boss. And the final boss against Capital B, I actually really like. That's probably definitely my favourite boss fight in the entire game. Oh, what else? The tonic system. The tonic system I actually really enjoyed. The fact that you could complete challenges to unlock these tonics that you could only have one equipped at a time, so it's not a broken mechanic. And they sort of give you a nice little boost, either to give you, so maybe like using this move won't drain your energy bar as fast, or an extra hit point, or one that will help you, I don't know, run a bit faster. I'm not sure they are, like run a bit faster, like helping you find, like there's the hunter one which helps you find certain collectibles. They're just little gameplay nudges. It's a nice feature that, again, I really like. And in general, the gameplay's fine. Like I like a lot of the puzzles, I like a lot of the platforming challenges. Again, you have to expect going into this game, it is what it is. It is a collectathon 3D platformer. It's gonna have a lot of that sort of puzzle, challenge, platforming type stuff. That's the idea of it. And as someone who loves those kind of games, I loved this, and going through my 2nd time, yeah, I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the general gameplay. The presentation in this game is really nice, both visually and sound-wise. Yeah, I think graphically this game looks absolutely fine. Very nice, in fact. I love the colour, I love the art style, I love all the character designs, and I know the Unity engine has been used by a lot of indie developers to create just some genuine looking crap, but I think with this, Playtonic have done their best with the engine and really utilised it to its full to make the best looking game they can, and it does look really nice, and I will give it that props. Sound-wise, again, the soundtrack, it's Grant Kirkhope, David Wise, as well another guy called Steve Burke. He doesn't get enough credit. But yeah, Grant Kirkhope, his tracks, they're very Grant Kirkhope, and they do have that very nostalgic feel. Grant Kirkhope has a big eye for atmosphere. He knows how to create the right mood. For like with Tribal Stack Tropics, he creates that very jumpy, sort of upbeat and really lifeful sort of first world vibe. With Glitter Glaze Glacier, he creates a sort of calming and very playful sort of tone. But yeah, Grant Kirkhope does a great job. I don't think I found a soundtrack of Grant Kirkhope's that I don't like. He's very good. The David Wise tracks work really well as well. It's like, I think David Wise does all the minecart themes, a couple of the boss themes. My favourite track in the entire game is the World 4 boss theme that David Wise does. That's so good. And what's great is that because these two are the two main composers, they don't feel jarring. The two styles don't jar. They meld together very well, and that's what I was worried about with the soundtrack. When I first played it, I was like, yeah, are these two composers are their different styles gonna clash? But no, they work very well together. And Steve Burke, his stuff is a bit more, because he does the I think the soundtrack for the arcade games, and again, for what they are, they're very good, and I give him credit. He does a great job as well, because having Grant Kirkhope and David Wise in your game, he will obviously go overshadowed a bit, and so credit to him as well. So I think a big part of this game that needs to be talked about with something like this is the charm and the vibe, because the whole idea of Yooka Laylee is that it was trying to be a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, trying to replicate that feel of the 90s platformer. And to be honest, I would definitely say it achieves that, albeit in a different way to how Banjo does it. Again, of course, it's not going to be the exact same vibe as Banjo. Because it's a different game, different characters, different ideas. It's not going to have the same vibe as Banjo. It's going to have its own unique vibe, albeit with that very sort of same intention as Banjo, with the same childlike wonder and whimsicalness and playfulness that Banjo had. The writing in this game, I really enjoy. It's that very typical sort of cynical, sarcastic, very witty / dry wit British humour, and of course, I can really appreciate it. It's very rare, well, Platonic now, but it's very much the humour of those guys, and it really shines through. There are some very clever jokes that were in here and there, and also some of the jokes about the gaming industry at the time made me chuckle as well. Some of the puns were a bit, but you know, they're made in good faith. You know, it's just a few silly throwaway jokes. But I really enjoyed the sort of meta-ness of it. This is definitely much more meta than anything Playtonic has done before in terms of writing. Like, they really hammer the nail on the head, like, oh yeah, this is a game and we're self-aware and fourth wall breaking, and like, okay, they may have overdone that quite a bit, but again, the writing, it's still fun. I don't think it's too preachy or pretentious that they're trying to hammer in these jokes. It's just fun, and I really enjoyed the cynical joke just wit of it. It's really nice. The characters, I really like these characters. I think Yooka and Laylee are quite good characters. They do feel quite distinct from Banjo-Kazooie, I think. I really like Laylee. Laylee's got a lot of sass. I like that. I like a lot of the other characters. Trouser Snake. Yeah, I like Trouser Snake, even though I don't like his things. I like Kartos. I like I like Retro 64us. I like Vendy. I like all these little cool characters that they have, and how you keep meeting them in each world. I have heard some people say they wish there were more characters and they didn't stop repeating some of these characters. I can see that, but again, I quite like the idea of having these characters sort of building in each world, sort of getting to know more about them and recurring. I liked that. I liked that we got to know more about them and they felt like they were part of your journey. I enjoyed that. Now, in terms of things that people didn't enjoy that I really want to address, people saying the level design in this game was a bit open and barren. I can kind of see where they're coming from, like, because the level design is definitely more akin to Banjo-Tooie than it is Banjo-Kazooie. These are much more bigger and sort of expansive levels, especially with the world expansion thing. These levels can get to a reasonable size, but I never thought it gets to a point where they're so big that it feels empty or barren. I never felt that. I felt that even when they were in their fully expanded state, most areas felt fairly used. Yeah, there were some open plain bits in between. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They never felt too big where it felt like you couldn't navigate around them or you got lost. I thought they were fine. I had no issue with the level design here. And actually, this brings me nicely onto the world expansion feature. I actually really enjoyed this feature. I love how, because of this, the game allows for you as the player to take it at your own pace. You don't even have to expand the world. You can just go straight to the next world, until the final boss. It's there as an option. It allows you to play it the way you want it. But at the same time, because you need 100 pages in order to get to the final boss, in order to do that, you will need to do some expanding and some exploring. It encourages you to explore the game's features. Even though you can take it at your own pace, the game pushes you and encourages you to try these aspects. And that's what I love about Yooka Laylee. And for me personally, what I do is I go into a world unexpanded, collect all I can, then go back out and then expand it. And I went through the worlds one by one. I've also heard some people just don't expand them at all and just go straight to the final boss. I've heard some people just expand them right from the get-go and go into the world fully expanded, and that's absolutely brilliant. And people play it in different ways. I think that's fantastic. You play it the way you want to play it, and that's a great strength that Yooka Laylee has, and I think it does it very well, providing as long as you have enough pages. And again, that's when it comes into the whole encouragement of you, even though it allows you to have that, it just, yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling on here. But the big thing about this is that in the over a year and a half since the original game came out, has there been any significant changes to Yooka Laylee? Not as such. First, I assume there have been some tweaks. Like, the camera certainly feels a lot better. Like, the camera was fine when I first played through it. I didn't think it was as bad as everyone made it out to be. I had heard horror stories. People were saying, like, it was terrible, the camera. I never had any issues in my first playthrough, and I certainly had no issues in the second playthrough. But it was nice, because I noticed they had a different camera option. I started tinkering with that. That was quite nice. But in terms of actual content, nothing's really been added, which is quite disappointing. Now, I know Playtonic are an independent studio, and that's fair enough. And I can get that. As soon as the game came out in April 2017, their main focus from then on was to get it out on the Switch, which they did. I think it was about the end of 2017, about December time. They were working, and I understand that takes some time because the Switch cannot natively run Unreal Engine 3, and it takes some tweaking. It's a bit iffy. There's been a lot of problems with indie games trying to get them onto the Switch that way, and it's had a lot of problems because of Unity Engine. And so yeah, I completely get that. As well as that, but then after that, they just went silent. Nothing until maybe like a few months ago. Not a few months ago, but like just a month ago, they sort of talked about the 64-bit tonic, which I looked at the trailer for. It looks pretty good. I think, granted, like, I think looking at some of the comments, people may be expecting a bit too much. Like, they cannot recreate this game in fully 64-bit graphics. That would be ridiculous. That would take way too long. That would be practically developing the game all over again. That would just be stupid. And I think for what they've done, it's pretty good. And I think it's pretty satisfactory. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe in that time they've also been working on DLC, and hopefully that will come out soon, because I think that's one thing that Yooka Laylee is missing. Like, I think for what it is, the content is pretty good. Like, the first playthrough I played through, it took me about 24 hours. That's pretty good, actually, and considering that there's only 5 worlds in the game, it does give you a lot of content. For like 24 hours, I thought was pretty good. My second playthrough took me about 17 hours. Again, that's still a decent amount of time. Although I do just wish that the event, that it did last a little bit longer, because I do enjoy Yooka Laylee. I've had a lot of fun going through it, especially again, and the one thing coming out of it for the second time, I just wish there was a bit more. Another world, maybe. Just that one more world would have been nice. And I think hopefully there is, because I think that's one of their stretch goals, that there is DLC. And I would love to see that, because I just feel that's what this game needs, just a tad more content. But overall, going through Yooka Laylee again has been a joy. I've really had a lot of fun going through it a second time, and is it better than it was at the start? I can't really say, because not a lot has changed, which is a bit of a shame, but I still think Yooka Laylee is an absolutely fine, fun experience. It's not perfect by any means, but I still really enjoyed it. It was definitely one of my favourite games of 2017. It was definitely a nice return to form for 3D platformers. Granted, A Hat in Time then came and completely swept me under my feet, and I fell in love with that game. And I will be doing a year on that a bit later, don't worry. But with Yooka Laylee, again, I still think it's absolutely fine. Well, more than fine. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely up there with some of my favourite 3D platformers. I had a blast with Yooka Laylee, and I certainly don't feel it gets the love it deserves. So with my original 9 out of 10 rating, you know what? I'm not going to say it's any better or worse. I will stick with that 9 out of 10. I think even though I've looked back on that rating and think, was I a bit too generous with that? You know what? No, I still really enjoy Yooka Laylee. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I still think that 9 out of 10 for me personally is warranted, because I'm someone who loves this style of game, the 90s style 3D platformer collectathon. I love that. So for me, this game is an absolute treat, and I've really enjoyed it. I know it's not for everyone, and some people had differing experience with this game, and that's fine. Like, if it wasn't quite up to your expectations, that's absolutely fine. You're entitled to your opinion. And hell, I didn't even back this game, and I still enjoy it. I can understand some people who backed it may have been a bit disappointed. Some people may have been expecting something a bit more akin to what Banjo was, and Yooka Laylee is still very akin, although it has taken advantage of modern technologies to create a bit more of an expansive and bigger game, and it has done its own thing in some areas which some people may not be so on board with. But you know what? I think overall Playtonic achieved what they set out to do. They created a 90s-style 3D platformer with the same intentions and the same playful mood as Banjo-Kazooie, but with its own unique sort of charm within itself. So like, not trying to replicate the charm that Banjo had, but its own unique charm with the sort of same intentions as Banjo is what I'm trying to get at. And I really hope that Playtonic go on to do... I'm really looking forward to see what they do next, and I hope they go on to do a lot more good stuff, because I think because these are very talented people at Playtonic, and I really, really hope that they announce some new stuff soon, some DLC, or maybe even a new game. I really want to see what they're working on, because these are talented individuals, and I think they have some great potential for the future, and I'm excited to see where they go next. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined to, and I will see you in the next one. What even was that? What even was that ending? I just went...